The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and strange civilizations, but Earth, with its blue oceans and green lands, had always been overlooked. To the galaxy's most powerful alien races, Earth was just another insignificant planet. They had watched from afar for centuries, but they never saw any real threat from the humans. Earth was small. Its people were primitive. Their technology was nothing compared to the advanced alien worlds. In fact, many of the aliens saw Earth as defenseless, weak, and far behind in the race for galactic power. The galaxy's great powers, massive, technologically advanced alien civilizations, had all come to the same conclusion. Earth was a low priority. It was not worth their attention. The human race had weapons, sure, but nothing that could compete with the might of the alien fleets. The humans had no idea how to protect themselves from what was out there. The galaxy saw Earth as just another target, easy to conquer, ripe for the taking. At the very edge of the galaxy, the leaders of the most feared alien empire, the Zorath, were preparing to expand their territory. Their empire was one of the most powerful, stretching across many worlds. The Zorath had crushed countless civilizations, leaving nothing behind but dust and rubble. Now, their eyes were on Earth. The Zorath Council gathered in a massive chamber on their home planet. The room was dark, lit only by the soft glow of their advanced technology. The alien commanders discussed their plans with cold precision. They knew the humans on Earth would put up a fight, but they were certain it would be nothing more than a brief, easy battle. They had faced rebellions before, and each time they had crushed their enemies with ease. The humans are primitive, one of the Zorath commanders said. Their technology is outdated. Their military is weak. We will conquer Earth in a matter of days. The rest of the council murmured in agreement. Earth was an easy target, and they all knew it. What they didn't know, however, was that their calculations were wrong. What the Zorath, and every other alien civilization, did not realize was that Earth held a secret that had been hidden for centuries. Deep beneath the surface of the planet, in places that no one had ever thought to look, lay something far beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. In the deserts of Africa, beneath the mountains of South America, and hidden in the icy reaches of the Arctic, a fleet of enormous warships lay dormant. These ships were not of Earth's making. They were not created by human hands. In fact, no one on Earth even knew they existed. The Dreadnoughts, as they were called, were ancient ships, built long before humanity ever took its first steps toward the stars. The Dreadnoughts were far more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever encountered. They were colossal, capable of destroying entire fleets with a single strike. Their power was unimaginable. The aliens never knew that Earth had this hidden weapon, a weapon that had been waiting for the right moment to awaken. At first, no one had meant to leave these ships behind. Long ago, a forgotten civilization from beyond the stars had come to Earth. They had gifted the planet with incredible technology, hidden deep in the planet's core. They had built the Dreadnoughts, not for Earth, but for a much greater purpose. But before they could activate them, that civilization vanished, leaving Earth with a treasure that would remain hidden for centuries. Now, with the Zorath and other alien forces closing in on Earth, it was time for the Dreadnoughts to awaken. The people of Earth were unaware of the danger coming their way. They had no idea that a vast alien empire was preparing to invade. But there were a few, hidden deep within the government and military, who knew the truth. They knew about the Dreadnoughts. They knew about Earth's secret weapon, and they were ready to unleash it. As the Zorath fleet moved closer, the humans on Earth made their preparations. They had no great armies to send into space. They had no vast fleets of warships to fight back. But what they did have were the Dreadnoughts, waiting, ready, and powerful beyond belief. The Zorath commanders were confident, too confident. They believed Earth would fall quickly, that the humans would be nothing more than a speed bump in their expansion. The thought of such a small, defenseless planet challenging them seemed laughable, But in their arrogance, they had underestimated Earth. They had underestimated the hidden power beneath their feet. The countdown to invasion had begun. The Zorath's ships were already in motion, crossing the stars toward Earth. But in the depths of the planet, a long-forgotten force was about to awaken. The Dreadnoughts, once thought to be lost to time, were about to show the galaxy that Earth was far from defenseless. And when they did, the stars themselves would tremble. In that moment, the galaxy would learn a hard lesson: never underestimate Earth. The mysterious fleet of dreadnoughts, hidden beneath Earth's surface for centuries, began to stir as the first signals of the alien invasion reached Earth's defense systems. Deep beneath the ground, in ancient, long-forgotten bunkers, the dormant machines flickered to life. These massive ships, buried under layers of Earth's crust, had been silent for generations. The technology that powered them was unlike anything the universe had ever seen. As the dreadnoughts awakened, the systems inside them came online one by one, almost as if they were responding to a call that had been waiting for the right moment. They began to power up, their massive engines starting to hum with energy that could shake the heavens. The air was thick with anticipation as the ancient ships slowly but surely began to emerge from their slumber. Far above, in the quiet and peaceful world of Earth, no one knew the chaos that was about to unfold. The world's leaders were busy with their daily affairs, unaware of the invisible threat approaching their planet. They had no idea that alien forces, far more advanced than anything they had ever seen, were making their way toward Earth. And yet, hidden in the depths of the planet, Earth's only chance of survival was coming alive. The awakening of the dreadnoughts was not a simple process. These ships were not designed to be easily activated. They required specialized codes and sequences, which had been passed down in secret to only a select few. These few people, scattered across the globe, had spent years researching ancient texts and fragments of old, forgotten knowledge to understand the ship's technology. Now, when the world's future depended on it, they were ready to unlock the dreadnought's incredible power. In a small, secluded underground facility, a group of scientists and military officers worked tirelessly, pulling together all the knowledge they had gathered over the years. They began inputting the complex codes into the dreadnought's control systems, one by one. As the final sequence was entered, the massive warships began to respond. Slowly, their enormous engines came to life, and the ground shook with the power that was being unleashed below. On the surface, Earth's people remained oblivious to the unfolding events beneath their feet. But all that was about to change. As the first dreadnoughts began to emerge from their underground bunkers, they sent out a powerful signal into space. It was a message of warning, one that would be received by the alien forces on their way to Earth. The message was clear. Earth was not as defenseless as they believed. Above Earth's atmosphere, the alien ships continued their journey toward the planet, unaware of the awakening force below. The alien commanders, confident in their victory, continued to discuss their plans. They believed that Earth's defenses were non-existent, that they could crush any resistance with ease. What they didn't know was that their arrogance had blinded them to the truth. The first sign of danger came when the alien fleet scanners detected an anomaly. At first, it was a small blip, barely noticeable against the vastness of space. But as the blip grew larger, their systems began to register something far more significant. They were not alone. Something was out there, something powerful. The alien commanders rushed to analyze the data. Their eyes widened in disbelief as they realized what they were facing. The ships they had detected were unlike any they had ever encountered. The size, the power, the sheer scale of these vessels was overwhelming. These were no ordinary ships. These were the dreadnoughts, and they were awakening from a long slumber. On the surface of Earth, the activation of the dreadnoughts was complete. The enormous ships began to rise from the ground, their massive hulls piercing the surface and pushing through the layers of rock and earth. The ground trembled beneath their weight as they emerged, revealing their full scale. The ships were colossal, far larger than anything the humans had ever seen. Each dreadnought was a towering behemoth, equipped with advanced weaponry and shields that could withstand almost anything the galaxy could throw at them. As the dreadnoughts broke free from the Earth's surface, they began to lift off, one by one, into the sky. The sight was breathtaking, like something out of a dream. The ships rose high into the atmosphere, their engines firing up with immense power. They were ready. For the first time in history, Earth's people began to realize that they were not as alone and vulnerable as they had once believed. The ships in the sky were a testament to the hidden strength of their planet. The awakening of the dreadnoughts was not just the activation of a military force. It was a declaration that Earth would not go down without a fight. The galaxy, which had once underestimated Earth, would soon understand the true power of this small blue planet. The alien fleet, now within range of Earth's atmosphere, received a chilling message. It was a warning, a signal that the humans were ready for whatever they brought. The message was simple, but its meaning was clear. Earth was not defenseless. Earth was ready to fight back. The alien commanders, once so sure of their victory, now faced a new reality. Earth was not what they thought it was. The planet they had planned to conquer was about to turn the tables. The battle for Earth was just beginning, and the dreadnoughts had just awakened the stars. The galaxy would never be the same again. As the massive fleet of dreadnoughts ascended into the skies, a deep rumble filled the air. The ground below shook with each step they took, and a sense of awe and fear began to spread across Earth. The dreadnoughts, once thought to be just myths, now loomed large above the planet, their engines humming with a low, powerful energy. For the first time in history, humanity had something that could truly challenge the might of the galaxy's invaders. The alien forces, still making their way toward Earth, were initially oblivious to the full extent of what had just awakened beneath the surface. Their scanners had detected the dreadnoughts, but they believed these massive ships were just an old relic, a forgotten piece of Earth's history with no real use. They didn't know the true power of the dreadnoughts, nor did they realize how quickly they would have to adapt to a situation they hadn't prepared for. As the dreadnoughts took flight, a signal was sent from Earth's hidden command centers to the alien fleet. It wasn't a message of peace or surrender. It was something far different. It was a challenge. The people of Earth had spent centuries waiting, watching, and preparing for a moment like this, and now that moment had come. The alien fleet, which had been confident in their ability to conquer Earth easily, received the message. The commanders at the helm of the alien ships were initially confused. They had expected resistance, of course, but nothing like this. They expected primitive human weaponry, perhaps a few small ships trying to defend their home, but nothing that could stand up to their overwhelming force. Yet now, as their ships drew closer to Earth, they could feel the energy of the dreadnoughts in the air, a kind of raw, untapped power that made them nervous. It wasn't just the size of the ships that made them feel uneasy. It was the unknown. The dreadnoughts were unlike anything they had seen before, and that uncertainty made them hesitate. On the surface of Earth, those who had awakened the dreadnoughts gathered in their command center, watching as the ships ascended into the sky. The control room was quiet, filled with tense anticipation. These few men and women, who had spent their lives preparing for this moment, now held humanity's fate in their hands. They knew that Earth's survival depended on how they used the dreadnoughts. Their decisions now would decide whether the planet would endure or fall. One of the commanders spoke, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "We've waited too long for this moment. The galaxy has underestimated us, and now we need to show them the truth." Another officer nodded in agreement, watching the live feeds of the dreadnought's progress. "We can't let the aliens think we're just defending ourselves. We need to strike first. Show them that Earth isn't a place to be conquered." As the dreadnoughts moved into position above the atmosphere, their commanders activated their primary systems. The ship's weapons, which had been dormant for centuries, began to hum with energy, and the air around them crackled with the intensity of the power they were drawing from the planet itself. The aliens had no idea that the dreadnoughts were designed not only to fight but to respond to the energy of the planet. Earth itself was fueling the ships, giving them strength and power that no one could have predicted. The first contact between Earth and the alien fleet came without warning. The dreadnoughts moved swiftly, cutting through the air with precision. They didn't just fly. They glided effortlessly, powered by a force that made them appear almost otherworldly. The alien fleet, which had been brimming with confidence, was now faced with a reality they hadn't prepared for. The alien commanders watched in shock as Earth's dreadnoughts maneuvered with an agility and grace they had never expected from such massive ships. They had assumed that Earth's technology would be slow and outdated, but the dreadnoughts were anything but. With a single coordinated movement, the ships shifted in the sky, aligning themselves in a strategic formation that sent a powerful shockwave through space. The alien fleet hesitated, confused by the sudden, unexpected turn of events. Their weapon systems began to prepare for combat, but something was wrong. They had been trained to fight civilizations with technology like theirs, but this was different. This was something entirely new. The dreadnoughts had no visible weaknesses, no obvious flaws. They were fast, powerful, and most importantly, organized. The humans, who the aliens had believed were a scattered, disorganized species, were now showing incredible coordination and strategy. The tension between the two forces began to build. The dreadnoughts hovered in the atmosphere, their weapons ready, waiting for the aliens to make the first move. Earth's forces had no intention of waiting to be attacked. They were not going to make the same mistake the galaxy had made. They were going to show the invaders that Earth was not a planet to be underestimated. The alien commanders, unsure of how to proceed, decided to test the humans' resolve. They sent a small scout ship toward one of the dreadnoughts, hoping to provoke a reaction. The moment the scout ship crossed into Earth's defensive perimeter, the dreadnought responded instantly. It wasn't just a simple defense mechanism. The ship's main weapon powered up in an instant, releasing a wave of energy that caused the scout ship to veer off course, sending it spiraling away in an attempt to escape. The dreadnought had not fired a weapon. It had simply released an energy burst that had made the alien ship's systems malfunction. This was no ordinary attack. It was a message, a clear warning. Earth had not just prepared for a fight. They had been ready for this moment for centuries. The dreadnoughts were not just weapons of destruction. They were tools of defense, created to protect a planet that had long been overlooked. The galaxy, which had once dismissed Earth as defenseless, would now learn what it meant to challenge the strength of a planet that was not so easily conquered. The alien commanders, now fully aware of the power Earth was hiding, were left with one undeniable truth. The battle for Earth had just begun, and the humans had no intention of surrendering. The alien fleet, now fully aware of the unexpected strength Earth had revealed, began to adjust their plans. What was once seen as an easy mission had now become uncertain. The presence of the dreadnoughts, those massive, ancient ships rising with silent power, changed everything. For the first time, the alien commanders held back, not out of fear, but out of confusion. They had studied Earth for years, yet not once had they come across any record of such ships. How could something so large, so advanced, remain hidden for so long? While the alien fleet hovered at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, a deep council gathered inside their flagship. Their brightest minds, leaders of multiple species, reviewed the data. They couldn't understand how Earth, a world previously considered too young and too weak, possessed machines that could not only rival their technology, but seemed to operate on an entirely different principle. One of the alien tacticians, a being with a mind tuned for probability, studied the patterns of the dreadnoughts' movements. He noticed something unusual. The ships weren't being piloted in the way most spacecraft were. Their actions seemed to be in harmony with each other, almost as if they were thinking together, or being guided by something larger than just human intelligence. He proposed a theory. The dreadnoughts were connected, perhaps even alive in a way the aliens didn't understand. Not biological life, but something more, machines that responded not to orders, but to Earth itself. Back on Earth, the team monitoring the Dreadnoughts' progress was beginning to understand the same thing. As the ships moved into higher orbit, the control room lit up with strange symbols and patterns. The monitors displayed shapes and codes that no one on the team had ever seen before, not even in their secret archives. It was as if the Dreadnoughts were trying to communicate, just not with words. Dr. Amara, one of the leading scientists, stepped forward and placed her hand gently on the glowing console. She wasn't sure why, but something told her the ships were responding to human presence, not in a command and control way, but in something deeper, almost like trust. It was as if the Dreadnoughts had been waiting not for activation, but for connection. At the same moment, high above the Earth, the alien fleet made a small move. One of their observation craft drifted closer to the line of Dreadnoughts, not with weapons, but with sensors extended. They wanted to learn more, to understand. But the Dreadnoughts responded in a surprising way. They didn't fire or defend. They simply shifted formation, slowly and silently, surrounding the craft in a perfect circle. The move sent a clear message. We see you. We are aware. Do not mistake silence for weakness. Inside the alien craft, the observers were stunned. Their readings were strange. They expected mechanical energy, but what they received was something closer to natural energy, like the Dreadnoughts were pulling power not from fuel, but from the planet itself. Earth wasn't just a home for these ships, it was their source. Down in Earth's command center, Dr. Amara spoke again. We've always thought of these ships as tools, machines, but I think they're more than that. They were made with us, but also for us. They don't just defend Earth, they are part of Earth. Another officer leaned forward. Are you saying the planet built them? She shook her head. Not the planet, no. But someone long ago must have understood how to bond technology and nature. These ships don't run on commands. They run on purpose. That single word, purpose, began to echo through the team. The realization changed everything. The Dreadnoughts weren't weapons to be controlled. They were guardians designed to awaken when Earth was in danger, not for conquest, not for power, but for protection. In space, the alien leaders received another signal. This one wasn't from Earth's government or its military. It came from the Dreadnoughts themselves, a pulse, gentle but strong, like the heartbeat of a giant. It spread across space, touching every sensor and ship. The message was not written in words, but in meaning. This is our home. You are guests. Choose your path. This message sent quiet waves of uncertainty through the alien ranks. They had come expecting a sleeping world. What they found was a world awake, aware and ready, not to attack, but to stand. The Dreadnoughts had not been built to conquer the stars. They had been built to guard a dream. The alien commanders faced a choice: advance and risk awakening a force they did not understand, or retreat and leave Earth to its mysteries. They held their position, unsure of what to do next. The galaxy had not prepared them for this moment. A peaceful planet rising with silent strength, powered by the bond between its people and its past. Earth had spoken. Now the galaxy had to decide how to listen. Above Earth, the stars seemed quieter now, as if even the universe was holding its breath. The alien fleet remained still, caught between curiosity and uncertainty. Their ships, once symbols of control and dominance, now looked small beside the calm power of the Dreadnoughts. The balance had shifted, not through conflict, but through presence. Earth had not struck first. It had simply risen. Inside the alien command vessel, a quiet discussion took place. The elder among them, an ancient mind known only as Solith, spoke with thoughtful caution. This world is not what we believed. Its silence was not weakness. It was waiting, listening, preparing. Many in the room still remembered the reports. Earth had no interstellar fleets, no colonies, and no record of aggressive expansion. Their technologies were barely spacefaring. Yet now, These same humans had revealed machines that resonated with natural energy and acted with intention. "They do not challenge us directly," one of the younger tacticians said. "Perhaps they are bluffing. Perhaps these ships are few, limited, or simply ceremonial." Soleth shook his head. "The ships are not the threat. The unity behind them is. A species that awakens such power without fear is a species that should not be underestimated." Meanwhile, on Earth, the air across every continent was filled with a strange mix of fear and hope. News had begun to spread. Secret transmissions, eyewitness footage, and whispered stories about machines in the sky. Most people didn't understand what was happening, but they felt it. Something deep had changed. Humanity, long used to being looked down upon by the wider galaxy, was standing on equal ground. In a secured underground base, the original Earth team who had reactivated the Dreadnoughts continued to study the signals coming from the fleet. The ships were not communicating in language. They were using patterns, harmonics, and frequency waves. It was like listening to the Earth breathe. Dr. Amara sat at her station, her eyes fixed on the flow of symbols across her screen. "They're talking to each other," she said quietly. "But not just to each other. They're talking to Earth, and to us." "Do they want us to do something?" another officer asked. "I think they want us to understand who we are." In orbit, the Dreadnoughts slowly began to shift. It was not an attack posture. It was more like a demonstration, graceful, synchronized, and precise. The movement traced ancient patterns in space, sacred geometry long lost to time. Each movement of the ships told a piece of a larger story, of protection, of balance, of respect between planet and guardian. One of the alien scout ships attempted to decode the pattern, and what it found surprised even the oldest among their scholars. The formation was not random. It matched carvings found on worlds long thought abandoned, ruins where no human had ever set foot. Somehow, Earth's dreadnoughts shared a history with places across the galaxy. But how? Back on Earth, deep in the archives hidden beneath the Antarctic ice, a discovery was made. A single crystalline tablet, unreadable until now, began to glow faintly. It resonated with the same energy pattern the dreadnoughts were using. As scientists gathered around it, lines of symbols began to appear. The message was simple and ancient. When the stars forget, the Earth will remember. It became clear. Earth was not just another planet. It was part of something older. A network, a forgotten alliance, a memory kept alive in silence. The dreadnoughts were not Earth's only secret. They were simply the first to rise. And now, Earth had remembered. The alien commanders were not ready for this. Their mission had been based on old intelligence. They had come expecting a simple planet, isolated and unaware. But Earth was neither. It was connected to something the galaxy had lost, a knowledge buried beneath time and silence. Still, Earth had not attacked. The dreadnoughts remained watchful but calm. The decision was now in the aliens' hands. Would they push forward and risk waking more than just machines? Or would they retreat and reconsider everything they thought they knew? Inside the alien command chamber, Solith gave one final thought to the room. If we choose pride over understanding, we may lose more than a battle. We may lose a piece of ourselves we forgot we once had. And with that, the galaxy stood still, caught between past and future, between fear and wisdom. The stars above Earth shimmered like quiet witnesses to history. Both fleets, human and alien, remained in space, not as enemies, but as two civilizations suspended in deep thought. No words had been exchanged. No demands had been made. Yet more had been spoken in silence than any treaty ever could. On the surface, humanity was changing. News of the dreadnoughts had spread across every border. People who once felt small now looked to the sky with quiet wonder. They weren't celebrating power or victory. What they felt was something deeper: recognition. That maybe, just maybe, humanity was never truly alone. That Earth held truths far greater than anyone had imagined. In orbit, the dreadnoughts began a subtle transformation. Their outer panels unfolded slowly like the petals of an ancient flower, revealing glowing cores pulsing with energy that resonated not with destruction, but with harmony. Soft waves of light spread across Earth's upper atmosphere, not harmful, not alarming, but peaceful. It was as if the ships were singing, each note carried through space like a message from the past. The alien fleet received the signal. Their sensors picked up not aggression, but information, layers of encoded history, mathematics, star charts, and something that felt even stranger, emotion. A memory not from machines, but from a civilization that had once understood balance between nature and technology. Among the alien delegates, a new voice spoke, one of their youngest envoys, a scholar rather than a soldier. What if this is not about defense at all? What if Earth was chosen long ago, not as a battlefield, but as a guardian post for something greater? The idea caught the attention of many in the room. Across the galaxy, ruins and lost worlds had long puzzled explorers, worlds that had once flourished, now quiet. What if Earth had been protected, preserved as a last note of knowledge? Back on Earth, a second discovery was made. Deep under the ocean floor, satellites detected faint energy readings, matching the Dreadnoughts' pulse. An ancient structure, buried for millennia, began to stir. Slowly, it lit up from within, not to rise, but to share. Data began streaming from it into the Dreadnoughts above, then outward, toward the stars. The message was simple but profound. A map, not of places, but of memories. Locations of ancient guardians like Earth, scattered across the galaxy, forgotten by time, but waiting to awaken when their stars were in danger. Earth was the first to remember, but it was not meant to be the last. The alien leaders watched the signal spread. It passed their ships without interference. There was no encryption, no restriction. It was being offered. This gesture confused their military minds. Why would a species reveal so much, give away knowledge freely? Dr. Amara, observing the data from Earth's side, offered an answer. Because some knowledge isn't meant to be held. It's meant to be shared. Maybe that's the lesson Earth is here to teach. The alien fleet began to respond, not with engines, but with lights of their own. Their flagship emitted a slow, pulsing pattern, respectful and matching the rhythm of Earth's signal. Not surrender, not alliance, but recognition. A shared moment between two worlds who had once misunderstood each other. On both sides, leaders stepped back from fear and leaned toward understanding. Messages were exchanged, simple greetings, basic data, no demands, just questions and answers. And finally, a call went out from Earth to the stars, an open message, not only for those already watching, but for others still distant, still silent. We remember, if you do too. Answer. One by one, ancient signals began to echo back across space. Faint, delayed, but real. Hidden worlds, forgotten ships, long dormant guardians beginning to stir. The galaxy had once fallen asleep. Now it was waking again, not to fight, but to remember. And Earth, once thought small, had become the first to light the path. Not with fear, not with might, but with purpose.